Hi guys, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday. It's Tuesday, March 26, 2013. This is Jennifer and this is Tackett. He wanted to hang out, so here he is. He's very affectionate today. He just needs some love. So I have a totally epic amount of stuff to show you guys today. I had my annual quilt retreat this weekend. We had 4 days of fantastic sewing and friendship and just an amazing, amazing time. And my 2013 to-do list, I made a huge dent, I'm going to need to invest in some fabric for quilt backs because, as you will see, I finished a whole lot of quilt tops. The first one behind me, this quilt top is made from the monkey fabric that Jules68 gave me after I quilted a top for her that was made using the same fabric. She actually gave me all her leftovers, and what is in this they were actually strips that were with the fabric. I just sewed them all together, and then I cut I think it was a 4 or 5 inch strip off the end, split it down a random area, and then sewed that strip upside down in the top. And that's all this is. This guy will be a Linus top. It will be quilted and donated to the Linus Connection in the near future. This is a bit of a 2-for-1. This quilt back here is a quilt I'm keeping for myself that came from a couple of different quilt block swaps that I did online. They were Harry Potter / magical themed. I put all the Harry Potter blocks in this quilt, and then I put the magical themed and extra blocks in this quilt. This quilt is done. All it needed this weekend was a binding. It has a binding now, and as you can see, I've already got, if I can find it, it's already labeled and ready to go to the Linus Connection. This one will be donated. When this one is quilted, this one will be mine. This quilt now has borders. It just needs to be quilted and bound, and then it's done. This is my green and purple quilt from the Green Charm swap that we did here on Talk to Me Tuesday a couple years ago. I think it was Talk to Me Tuesday. It might have been Live Journal. But anyway, it was from our Green Charm swap, and I used the 10-minute block technique to create the sort of rounded shapes here. This just needed a border. It is now bordered. It just needs to be quilted, and it will be done. This is one of my favorite pieces that I finished this weekend. This is my embroidered block of the month that I did when I was learning to hand embroider for the Project of Doom. This was a sampler quilt. I actually did the 5, I think it was 5. Yes, I did the 5 hand embroidered blocks, but I didn't follow the rest of the block of the month because I just wanted to do the hand embroidery. I turned them into snowballs and then created the borders using some fabric I actually picked up this weekend at B&B Quilt Store in Buda, Texas. If you are local and you've never been there, B&B is an awesome quilt store. They're actually in the process of building a new shop, and so they have just fabric ceiling to floor. It's amazing. The ladies there are really nice, and they have a great selection of fabric. So this is another quilt top done, another quilt top that needs to be quilted and bound. This quilt top started the weekend as orphan blocks. I took a bunch of odds and ends and used some scrap fabrics that I had brought with me to sort of space them out and make them into one quilt top. There were a variety of blocks in there. Some of them were blocks I made, some were blocks other people made and gave to me. I made them all fit together and gave them a border, and this will be a top for the Linus Connection. This one also needs to be quilted and bound, and this is another top finished. This quilt was also made from orphan blocks. I had 3 really big blocks. I think they were like 18, 20 inches, and I took one of them apart and was able to create a quilt top by repiecing those pieces. This still needs a border because it's not quite big enough for the age group that I think would be appropriate for the colors of this quilt. So what I want to do is take this blue color and put a nice wide border around this, and then this will be a top for the Linus Connection. So this actually is a wall hanging that I created using blocks that I made for my friendly game pattern. These were actually the blocks that I tested the pattern with, and just to make sure the pattern worked, and I've had them ever since, just hanging around in a little bag, and I just did a simple sashing and created a wall hanging. This just needs quilting and binding, and then this one will belong to me. This quilt top was created from a big pile of 4.5 inch half square triangles that I had. You might remember I had a big red box that had half square triangles in it. I didn't use any of the 2.5 inch ones, but I used all of the 4.5 inch ones to create this pattern. And the fabrics here are fabrics. The red fabric came from a box of Linus fabric I took with me, and the other fabric is actually leftover from another project I'm about to show you. The blue fabric actually came from this blue, which I put on this pillowcase that I made for myself. A couple years ago I made myself a pillowcase at retreat, and that's the pillowcase I take with me when I go to retreat. That's my pillow. I decided I wanted another retreat pillow, so I've made myself another retreat pillowcase. And this is just cute fabric that I found at B&B Quilt Store. I actually got this on their sale rack, so this was sale fabric, and I made myself a little pillowcase with it. This is one of the quilt tops I'm actually most excited about finishing. This is my vintage Churn Dash quilt top. I pieced this top last year at retreat. The vintage Churn Dashes I actually got at a charity sale, and then I made the snowballs using vintage fabric to match. And then I found this red fabric and this blue fabric that I thought coordinated beautifully, and I did a top and bottom red border, and then I did blue border all the way around. This quilt will be mine. These are, like I said, vintage Churn Dash blocks. They're hand pieced. I love them. This one will belong to me when it's all done. In the category of quilts that are done, I finished the little flannel quilt. It has a binding now, and I actually used a completely scrappy binding, just all pastel 2.5-inch strips that I already had on hand. And this one is quilted, it's done, it's labeled, and this one, it will be donated to the Linus Connection. The quilt hanging on the wall behind me is actually huge. It's too big for my design wall, and it's really heavy, so it's kind of fallen down. It has been quilted. It's got the binding sewn on the front and about halfway sewn on the back. I need to get the other half done this week because I'm giving this as a gift, and it's almost done. As soon as I get that binding on, it's going to be done. I had 2 more pillowcases that I made, and they looked more or less like this. This is a Batman pillowcase. I did, usually when I do my pillowcases, I do a little flange here, but I just decided to skip the flanges this weekend, and I like the way these turned out. They're really simple. I did this one, and this one has already been cleaned by my daughter, so it actually has a pillow inside of it, so you can see how really nice that looks with a pillow in it, and she picked the one with the red top. So 2 Batman pillowcases on top of my retreat pillowcase. I also made another charity top, which has already gone away. I will insert a picture of that here. I did custom fabric on Spoonflower for the ladies in my group, and I'm not going to show you this too close because it has everyone's name on it, but what I did was it has the location where we went with the date in one circle, and the other circle has all of our names and then the name of our group in the center. The ladies really liked it. The way I presented it to them was like this. It came with a fat quarter of that fabric and then 2 fat quarters of red and black so that they could maybe join these together and make something. A couple of the ladies said they might just frame it, so that was my little special gift to my friends at the sewing retreat. I did have a couple little projects that I worked on that are things I can't show you, but you will see those coming up in the next few weeks because they're projects for Block of the Months and blog hops and that kind of thing, so they're stuff that you're going to see really soon. I had an amazing time. I always have an amazing time. I got, like I said, and like you have just seen, an epic amount done. Most of what I did was put borders on quilts, which was most of what I needed to do. I did piece a lot. I did piece some blocks, and I did make some finished things like the pillowcases, and I finished some binding on a couple of things, but mostly I did a lot of borders, and I feel really good about this retreat. I feel really good about the progress that I made. My goal for this year is to finish projects I have started and get my projects in a manageable amount. I started quilting in probably 2003, I think. So I've been quilting for about 10 years, and what I found is that my interests have changed, and as my interests have changed, I've kind of abandoned some projects. And so what I'm trying to do is finish the projects that I kind of abandoned and get myself in a mode where I'm only making things I really want to work on now. And I would like to be able to count my UFOs on one hand instead of both hands, both feet, and a borrowed hand from somebody else. Very last thing from retreat that I want to show you is this pattern that I picked up at B&B. It's called Snapshot. It's by Mountain Peak Creations, and I bought that for my fabric that Hard Hat Cat sent me. I've got this beautiful Australian fabric that's got all kinds of Australian animals and imagery, and I'm going to use this to make a king size quilt out of this. I do need to buy some coordinates that are probably going to be batiks. I'm leaning toward like browns and greens for the batiks to go with these beautiful fabrics, and this will probably be a project for 2014 because I still, as you might have noticed, have a lot to finish for 2013. But I do feel like I'm one step closer just having a pattern and knowing actually what I want to do with this fabric. Of all the stuff I took with me, I only did not touch one project. I had one project that I took with me that I didn't touch, and it was actually the package of fabric from Crystal, aka Clumsy Cord. And I want to make a bag out of that, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do, and then I really sort of solidified what I wanted to do over the weekend, but I didn't have the things with me that I needed to do it with. So that's going to be a future project, but I know what I want to do now. And just like the fabric from Cat, knowing what I want to do is half of the battle. So that is enough of my epic craziness for now. I don't know what I'm going to have to show you next week because I am going out of town this weekend and I am pretty wiped out from retreat. So I might just be chatting it up next week. We'll see. I did want to let you guys know on Fandom and Stitches, we are having our first big charity event called Fandom for Charity, the Project of Doom block drive. We are collecting Project of Doom blocks, and by we, I mean me. I'm collecting Project of Doom blocks. They need to be white background or white on white background with the bright colors for the other fabrics. You can make any block you want. You can make as many Project of Doom blocks as you want. You send them to me. 30 of the blocks that I receive will become a Project of Doom quilt. That quilt will be quilted by a friend of mine that's a professional long arm quilter here locally in Austin. And that quilt will be given away on Fandom and Stitches. So basically what you will be doing, if you're a quilter, make a block, make 2 blocks, send them in, be part of this event. And the way you have an opportunity to win this quilt is by making a donation to the Linus Connection. Every dollar you donate to the Linus Connection through the Project for Good, Network for Good, I need to look that up. I'll put it right here. For every dollar you donate to the Linus Connection, you will get 1 chance to win the Project of Doom quilt that we will be making as a group. All you have to do is make a donation online. There's a link on Fandom and Stitches of how to do that, and then you forward your receipt to ofenjen@fandomandstitches.com. That link is also in the Fandom and Stitches post. I have already received my first donation. I posted this yesterday. I don't see this money. It goes straight to the Linus Connection. All I need is your receipt. When you send me your receipt, I give you that many entries into the drawing. Whoever wins will receive a completed, one-of-a-kind Project of Doom quilt that is ready to love and use or display however you want to enjoy it. And hopefully someone that loves Harry Potter, someone that loves being part of the Fandom and Stitches community will win. But most of all, I'm combining my favorite things. Fandom and Stitches, Harry Potter, quilting, and the Linus Connection. Those are my favorite things. And if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you've heard me say those words many, many, many times. So hopefully you'll be part of it, whether you just make 1 block or you make a donation. I really hope you'll be part of that. And I will continue to talk about this. We'll be doing this all the way through April. And then at the end of April, the quilt will be pieced and we'll be giving it away in June. I think we're going to have all of May for donations. So you guys have a great week. Enjoy your week. I hope you enjoyed this crazy video. I hope it makes sense when I edit it all together because I've been hanging, stopping, putting more stuff up, and then going again. So hopefully it all makes sense and it's a cohesive video and it's not too crazy. You guys have a great week. Check out Fandom and Stitches. Definitely stop by Sew Hooked as well. I will be part of a blog hop coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I have some other things coming up that I hope you guys are going to enjoy. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.